Yeah, cool. Yeah. Oh, that's better. Um, so yeah, thanks, Vinny. Yeah, well, I was a man afraid there of not being able to do the share screen there, and but it's come good anyway. So there we are. This is the Tonic shop down in the bottom left with Steph Langan, the social worker. That's the shop front of Tonic. It's a small corner shop in Portsmouth, in a bustling sort of area, and there's there's a small rehearsal space for workshops downstairs. There's in the middle. There's the last autumn's program, and as the project's grown, it's had more and more happening, and it's now turned into a sort of regular sort of term time thing with I think 6 weekly program, and then a couple of weeks rest, and then back to 6 weekly again with different workshops, guitar, vocals, songwriting, art and crafts, review writing, that kind of thing, and a couple of choirs, one ska choir. You notice the ska influence. Terry Hall of the Specials is a patron of Tonic. And Jason, the bass player, is in a ska band. Was in the Jewelers, and now in another band, professional band. So the ska choir has been going for about 18 months, and then just before the lockdown, a punk choir was going. Started going, and that we've got an enormous amount of people, 80 people signing up for it straight away as soon as it was started. But then the lockdown stopped it, and it's been quite hard in the lockdown for them. It's a sort of self funding charity. It's quite remarkable in that way, because they through merchandising and gigs is how the sort of money has flowed, and so they've not had a lot of grants, from Arts Council or anything like that. They've gone for a sort of self-sustainable model, and that was particularly terrible in the lockdown because there were no festivals, obviously, or none of the usual income could happen. So they have had been successful in getting some grants to keep and there is a paid staff of tutors and so on, to keep the pay going. So it's I mean, you'll see from the imagery, it's not just about the individual activities. It's a real flavor. You get the flavor there of the anti-stigma approach, and being a sort of organization that people can buy into and feel part of. There's some great testimonials from people on the website of how they felt at home, after a long period of feeling very adrift, in a period of illness and so on. So anyway, here is the advert that went up on our award last year in the spring, when we were the build up to Vinny arriving and coming down, and will we get people to come and everything. And we was also on advert in the community mental health team base here in Bridgwater as well. And there's the programme and some visuals there of the different activities. That was sort of eye-catching visual, and we got a very good turnout from the patients on the ward. 2 wards, rehab wards, one low secure and one rehab ward, and largely with people with schizophrenia. And negative symptoms of schizophrenia are very debilitating. So it's really good to have a people from the outside the ward coming, something fresh. And I think that for some people, the arts and music are really a very good way, a first step out of a first step in recovery in many ways. Yeah, oh yes, here's a few of Vinny's albums and stuff.
It's like the Vinny Peculiar promotion show.
Yeah. And I haven't updated. This whole talk is basically a rerun of what we did in Leeds, Vinny and I, to the Royal College of Psychiatrists rehabilitation section, and where we on the success of our project, we put ourselves in to do a workshop, and so it was slightly branded, slightly different title. It was From the Backwards to Community Care, and there in the bottom left there you see Silver Meadows, and the backwards were I don't know if you're familiar with the phrase, but it was the old parts of the old asylums that Vinny talked about closing down, and the backwards were the wards behind, away from the front of the place, where patients who were sort of long stay and nobody thought that they were going to get discharged were put, and Vinny had experience of these kind of places, working in a learning disability hospital and also in as a commissioner of mental health services before he went completely full-time rock and roll. And so
before I got broke, you mean?
yeah. So the Silver Meadows album is Vinny's concept album about very vivid portraits of poignant portraits of really poor institutional care, and the things that we try and avoid, the things that can happen when you've got vulnerable people, and that can happen. So we need always to be on guard about. And just because we close down some hospitals doesn't mean that these things can't happen again. And we have to be. So I think Vinny did some songs from Silver Meadows, or one or two of them, at the conference to seasoned psychiatrists, and they found it very, very powerful, and I think it's a good reminder. And so a lot of our what we do in rehabilitation is to try and create services and working teams that where we're open about this kind of thing, and where and teams where positive things are happening, and we're really and away from the old institutional negative kind of spiral that you can get into, and it can easily happen. You just need a neglected and isolated institution, and things can go wrong pretty quickly. So that's a good thing to know about in psychiatry. So I don't know, Vinny, do you want to do you feel the mood for another song right now, and I could come back, or do you want me to do more? If
you want me to,
yeah. Why not do another song, and while we've got your promotional.
I was going to say, I feel like you set me up right at the top of the tree there, John. Very easily come falling flat on my face.
Yeah.
Well, as discussed earlier, I wasn't going to do too much from Silver Meadows today, but if any, Silver Meadows is a concept album set in a long-stay 1980s institution for people with a learning disability and people with long-term mental health diagnosis. And I worked in those places in the 80s and early 90s. And I left the NHS, I think, in 2010 for the rock and roll dream. And the last thing I expected to do was 2 or 3 years later was write a concept album based in that aforesaid institution. So it means John's mentioned it. I suppose I could try and play a song from it. Yeah, us musicians are a little out of practice, it must be said, given the lack of live performance. But when I was, this is a song, which one shall I do? This is a song I'm going to do. When I was working in learning disabilities, there were a lot of people with very profound disabilities, and it wasn't always very clear just how deep an understanding of what was going on outside their, beyond their disability. You know, people with this apparent sort of locked-in condition that were very, were unable to speak and couldn't really move. But you always got the impression they knew much more about what was going on in the real world. Anyway, this is a song from Silver Meadows, and it's called Waiting Games, and it's from the perspective of a young kid who's profoundly disabled, who's fallen in love with his therapist. And he's no real way of telling them. This is his story. This is called Waiting Games. I'm waiting for someone to come and see me, someone to talk to, someone to be with. Waiting on someone like you, waiting to be found out. Have second thoughts and cast a shadow of doubt. Yeah, anyone will do. Anyone, I just hope that it is you. I've lived here in this room for most of my life. Lying in bed, I look out of the window. It's a beautiful night. Nurses come and they go. There's a full moon high in the sky. I'm sat in the chair by the door. People are passing me by. Anyone will do. Anyone, I just hope that it's you. I caught you looking at me in a most peculiar way. So what are you thinking? If I blink, will you turn away? And if you play your cards right, you could end up a star. Unlocking this mystery, you'll get your very own space in history. Cause anyone will do. Anyone, I just hope that it is you. Can't move and I can't speak, but I can feel your breath upon my cheek. When you kiss me goodnight at the end of the day, is there nothing more that you wanted to say? Cause I've been waiting for someone like you to sit up and notice me. Give every permission to set my heart free. Yeah, anyone will do. Anyone, I just hope that it is you. Anyone will do. Anyone, I just hope that it is you. I'd rather it be you, cause I'm waiting, waiting for you. Anyone will do. Anyone, I just hope that it is you.
Thanks, Vinny. That was great.